Good evening and welcome to Our City, Our Schools, Our Voice. My name is Carmen Rodriguez and I am the supervisor in the Camden City School District's Bilingual Education Department. This evening we are discussing the big news our mayor and superintendent announced yesterday. Next year, 5 of our most struggling schools will become Renaissance neighborhood public schools, which have been extremely successful in Camden. I am pleased to be joined tonight by Superintendent Paymon Rouhanifard, Assemblyman Angel Fuentes, and Katrina McCombs, a longtime Camden educational leader who heads up the District Office of Early Childhood Education. This show belongs to you tonight. For the next 30 minutes, we will be taking your calls. Our guests will be happy to answer questions you may have about yesterday's announcement. Please dial 856-536-3603. And we will get to as many of your questions as we can. Alternately, you can log on to our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Camden Public Schools, and post a question. Our phone lines and Facebook page are live now. But before we take our first call, I'd like to ask our guests about today's announcements. Superintendent Rouhanifard, can you describe the plan you unveiled and what the bottom line is for our students?
Absolutely. The plan has to do with the fact that we have a number of schools that have been struggling for a very, very long time. We're talking decades. And you see that with declining enrollment, the facilities are in disrepair, and the academic achievement isn't what we would like to see because we know our students here have limitless potential. So these plans that we announced, as you mentioned yesterday, have to do with revitalizing neighborhood schools. I mean, fundamentally, we believe, and this is exactly what I've heard from so many parents since I got here, we want a great neighborhood school in every neighborhood. And so we want to reinvest in those schools, revitalize them, bring in new leadership, and provide a fresh start for those students and families so that we raise the bar academically, ensure kids feel safe, and are in a modern facility. And so these are difficult decisions, not decisions we made in a whim. Overnight. This is something that we've been working to have a conversation with the community for over 18 months now.
Thank you. Assemblyman Fuentes, how do you feel about these changes?
You know, Carmen, when I was council president, I recall having parents coming to us, and of course, an opportunity for parents to voice their concerns and even frustrations. And I could tell you, they were not pleasant conversations about the quality of education for our children, and more so about the structure of the buildings, throughout the city, particularly the education schools. So I've talked to a lot of parents. I live in Kramer Hill. I've talked to parents in Kramer Hill and even other neighborhoods. They want change. They want what's right for their children. They want their children to get a good and quality education, but also quality schools, for their children. So I sense that there is an urgency, and I can tell you with the announcement, a lot of parents are coming out in support, and I appreciate the superintendent actually going door to door, even talking to parents, because that makes my life as an elected official much easier. But again, it's that connection, and so we just want to let parents know that we're there for you. And the bottom line, if anything, Carmen, it's really about our children. That's the bottom line. We want them to get, a better education, going to a good schools that will provide all the resources they need. We can go back. We don't want to see our children fail. I think we have a great team with the superintendent, as I stated, and along with the mayor and council people. Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Katrina, Ms. McCombs, you were a former principal. What do you make of these changes?
I welcome the changes. I embrace the changes because in addition to being a former principal of Manning Square School, I was also reared in this same school system. I attended many different schools, Coopers Point, Bonsall, Hatch, Camden High School, and I am a product of this very resilient educational system that we have in the city. So I am invested because I know that there are students who are going through similar experiences that I went through and hardships that can overcome, that have the intellect, the capability. They have everything inside of them to exceed and to achieve. They just need to have the right environment, the right circumstances, and the right academic opportunities in place. So I embrace the change on many different levels. And I think it's very important for us to make sure that our parents are a part of that change process as well, because parents' voices are so very important. And as they accept the change and as they see us as adults working together, collaborating, doing what's in the best interest of the children, they will see what it means or what it looks like to really embrace change in an effective and a very positive way. So we are modeling for our students as we as a community embrace this change. We're showing the next generation how to deal with change, because nothing is static. Everything is changing. So this is a perfect opportunity for us to be able to, again, show that example. So I embrace the change.
That's wonderful. And I know Assemblyman Fuentes, just like myself, actually can identify with your experience here in the city. So at this point, we'd like to turn over to some questions from the public. The first question that I have here is from Shelley, who is from East Camden, who wants to know, why are you making these changes now? Shouldn't you give our district schools a chance?
It's a really good question, so thank you for asking, Shelley. Look, the bottom line is that these schools have been in operation. Most of the schools here in the district have been serving our students for decades and decades. So, that's a pretty long opportunity there. And the reality is that these are challenges that have gotten worse over time and have led to the conditions that our schools are in. So we feel a sense of urgency. That's what it comes down to here, because as you heard from the Assembly member, a lot of families come up to us on a regular basis, and I've heard from hundreds of families, and most recently at our town halls, where they're saying, we need to see something different. We hope that this administration can deliver on that. And so we share in that sense of urgency, because our kids have one shot at their education.
Absolutely. Even with the before having Paymon, the superintendent, prior to him, we entrusted the superintendent, to really make some radical changes, because this, again, coming from the parents, and they have failed, to even work on plans or even to implement on plans. So I think in the last year and a half, we're seeing some changes, and I think our kids deserve that. Yeah.
I agree, absolutely. Thank you for that. And let's see what our next question is. Our next question is Aurelio, who asks, will there be any new school buildings developed in the Centerville area of the city?
Also a good question, Aurelio. So right now, I would say in terms of a new school building, the closest to the Centerville community is the Uncommon organization, a Renaissance school. They're going to build a school in Whitman Park. So not in Centerville, but close to Centerville. So no specific plans for a new building in Centerville specifically, but obviously Whitman Park isn't that far away. And the organization is working to identify land and and start building soon. And hopefully in the next year or two, we'll see a new family school in Whitman Park. And that's one of the larger neighborhoods in Camden that doesn't have its own neighborhood school. So I think this could be a terrific new addition to the Whitman Park community.
And that's wonderful, because we do hear that a lot, the interest of having a neighborhood school in each community. So it's wonderful that you keep that vision.
We're excited.
Next question that we have is from Linda Bailey, former head of early childhood education, who asks, how do these changes affect our pre-K students?
So that's a great question, Ms. Bailey, my predecessor. Thank you so much for that question. We've been very careful and very strategic in how we are shifting classrooms in light of the different changes and transformations. So one of the things in thinking about what Superintendent Rouhanifard just said regarding the Whitman Park neighborhood, we know that there is no private provider that we contract with, so there are no Board of Education, former Abbott classrooms that are really in that neighborhood. So this change has actually been a catalyst for us to be able to propose an early childhood facility in the Whitman Park neighborhood, which would be in the Bonsall Annex. So that's one thing that we're doing, is capitalizing on the transformation and on the change to kind of meld or gel that with our plan that is in the Camden commitment for reaching as many 3 and 4 year olds as we can in the city of Camden. So we have been, Ms. Bailey, very, very careful and very strategic to make sure that we're continuing to grow the number of seats that are in the city, and doing that in a very strategic way based on our needs assessment data and also based on the availability of space. So this has been positive because it's forced us to think outside of the box, and we're looking forward to the outcomes being very positive.
And it's absolutely wonderful. And I do want to congratulate on the tremendous success that you've had recruiting our children and finding placements in preschool. We have so many students now taking advantage of our pre-K program in the district far more than ever before, and I want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question. Will there be a Renaissance her question is, will there be a Renaissance School partner who is able to increase the numbers of after-school programs in the district?
So one of the unique benefits of Renaissance schools is that they're partner schools with the district. And it's very different than a traditional charter school where there's a lot of autonomy and those schools kind of operate independently of the district. But with Renaissance schools, because of that partnership, because of that contract, we can make very clear what we believe to be the programs that the community would like to see. And with these 5 schools that we're revitalizing, to the extent there are certain after-school programs that are working, we would like to keep them in place. So to give you one example, at the Molina School, there's a fantastic program with Rutgers that provides enrichment and academic support for our students. And we envision that program staying because there are a lot of great relationships already there inside of the school with the Rutgers support staff. So that's one of several examples, and we look forward to continuing to work with our existing after-school programs that families are happy with.
So that's fantastic. So a lot of the programming that parents have already in place, they will get to keep.
They will, and to the extent there are new ideas and new programs that they would like to raise with us and the Renaissance School partners, we'd be happy to explore those as well. But we want to make sure that those after-school programs are being provided. And we're really fortunate in the district to have had the funds to provide after-school programs in all of our schools, and that's going to stay the same with our Renaissance School partners.
And you'll be partnering with them and working with them to make sure those things happen.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Okay, our next question comes from Jose Delgado, who wants to know, when will the superintendent resign?
Hey Jose, how are you? I don't have any plans to resign, so I don't know if that's the news you were looking for or not, but yeah, there was a rumor going out there that I took a job in Boston or something or another. A lot of people came up to me and asked me about that, but I'm here, and I feel incredibly privileged and fortunate to have developed some great relationships with our families, with community leaders, with our elected officials, and my wife and son. We're all here living together in Camden. My son goes to daycare just down the street in Camden from where we live, so we have no plans of going anywhere.
And let me just add to Jose for that question. I hope you stay because I can tell you, just in Camden City, the leadership that we have in place, Paymon has proven to us that he's very approachable, that he will take his time to talk to a parent. And then even, as I said, we had a parent last night, she was surprised to have the superintendent knock her door just to talk about, to introduce himself, of course, but also about the vision, for the school district. And we haven't had that with superintendents in the past. Just to really go into the neighborhoods and talk to the grassroots. I think that in itself develops a high level of trust in an individual, and then to share his vision, knowing that it's coming from the public, time after time, having town meetings, So I really commend, and I can tell you that my colleague in the Senate, Nisa Cruz Perez, along with Whit Wilson, we are very proud, what so far within a year and a half that the superintendent has accomplished.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you. And yes, I do agree. I've heard a lot of very, very positive remarks in as far as your engagement in the community, the fact that you're definitely very much a presence in each of the schools, and you are seen, and it's very clear that you listen. I
think that's really important, and we really value that. It's not just me. I mean, our entire team, family community engagement, yourself, Carmen, Ms. McCombs, I think everyone takes that seriously, and it's a big part of what we have to do in order to, like you said, build trust, to communicate the vision and direction of the district, and to get feedback in terms of what it is that we're doing. So
needless to say, you're very highly invested in what you do here.
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful. Our next question is from Francisco, who has a child at Pine Point and asks, how would the counselors from school-based youth services and staff be affected?
Excellent question. So right now, school-based youth services is not in all of our schools, but Pine Point is one of the schools. The funding for school-based youth services is very unique. It comes mostly from DCA at the state level and also some federal grants as well. So we have some flexibility and we can divert some of those resources to other schools that don't currently have school-based youth services. So with Pine Point phasing out, it's an opportunity to potentially put those resources in some of our schools that don't have it. And so we're going to be exploring those opportunities with our staff and look forward to discussing that with the parents of those schools that we end up investing in.
Great. So you're basically going to take advantage of some of these changes that we have to really amp up the programs in the other schools and the 20 that are left.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't go away is the short answer. We're just going to think about how we can increase it in other schools.
That's fantastic. Next question is, what's the difference between a Renaissance school and a charter school?
So a Renaissance school, I'd say there are three unique differences. The first is that it is a neighborhood school. So if you live in that attendance area, so with the KIPP school in Landing Square, if you live in that Landing Square community, you have a right to attend that school. And so all students means all students, no matter what the needs are of that student, English language learner and special ed. So that's the first thing. They have an attendance area as opposed to having a citywide lottery. The second is that it's a partnership school, as I mentioned earlier, so there's a contract and we can very much make clear what we believe to be the needs of the community. And Renaissance schools are actually voted upon locally, whereas a charter school is actually approved in Trenton outside of the local school district. But here we voted on it locally, it was approved by our school board, and then we again fixed the contract. And then third, Renaissance schools get a little bit more funding than charter schools so that they can actually do facilities work. And it's either going to be ground up construction or they can renovate existing buildings. So we have 3 new Renaissance schools that are building new buildings, one of which is KIPP, which is almost done. I mentioned the Uncommon School in Whitman Park. There will be a Mastery School at State and River in Cramer Hill. And then with the announcement yesterday, we're talking about revitalizing and renovating 4 of our schools here. So it's, that's really what's so unique about Renaissance schools.
Fantastic.
And if I could comment,
yes.
It doesn't really take a rocket scientist. You really have to listen to the people. When I when I introduced the legislation, the Urban Hope Act, and of course the Renaissance, we took a closer look to what was happening in Landing Square. There was a building there, and unused, a school building for 10 years. It's just like it's unheard of. And I think this legislation helped, to promote, to bring a school, which is taking place, the kid, as the superintendent stated. So I think that neighborhood can flourish, knowing that there's a new school, where teachers really want to teach and students really want to learn. So that was really the whole essence, why we introduced the legislation. But it's helping, not just Landing Square, but throughout the city.
So basically we're looking at new leadership, better buildings, local neighborhood schools.
Exactly.
That's what our Renaissance schools are. That's fantastic. Next question that we have is from Tamia Milton. She wants to know why crossing guards officers and Metro Police aren't out later to keep kids safe in after-school programs.
So I don't have a perfect answer there. It's something that we can take to City Hall, because crossing guards are under the mayor, and it's something we'd be happy to follow up with Ms. Milton on. I get the feeling that this has something to do with the fact that most schools end around the same time, but after-school programs end at different times. So I imagine it might be a logistical challenge in terms of knowing exactly what time each program ends and having a hard time staffing toward that end. I don't know if either of you have any additional information, but we can definitely follow up with Ms. Milton to better respond to her question. And maybe if there's a specific program that her child or some people that she knows are involved with that are having this challenge, we can try to respond to that specific situation.
And I agree, that's an excellent question that's brought up, and definitely something that we should all look at as a team. And thank our viewers for asking, because this is what it's about, running a district.
And we'll definitely take note of that, and we'll follow up if we can get her phone number.
Okay.
Okay.
And we want to make sure and encourage everyone else to do the same. If there's any questions, any concerns, any other recommendations that you have, please reach out because we listen. Okay. Next question is from Ryan, who has a son at Camden High and wants to know more about our partnership with the Kroc Center and when the scholarship application for families is due.
So our partnership with the Kroc Center is really exciting. So we committed in our strategic plan, the Camden commitment, to develop 4 family centers. And we were recently able to announce the second of those 4. So the first one we opened at Center Family Services in Cooper Plaza. The second one is at the Kroc Center. And the Kroc Center is just an incredible resource to the city. And I think everyone here has spent some time there.
Yes.
And so we're thrilled to be able to partner with them. And what we're able to do there is one unique element is what we're calling the Family University. And the Family University is a series of workshops that families can sign up for that provide adult education resources, health and wellness resources for families, and a number of other different themes to really best support students in the classroom, but also at home in terms of raising families. And so we're thrilled about that. And alongside that announcement, we are doing the scholarship program so that we can provide families almost 100% discount on the membership. So it's a terrific opportunity. I don't know the exact due date. April 13th. April 13th.
Fantastic.
So there you have it.
That's fantastic that
I think
you're
we're doing a couple
that.
hundred scholarships.
Yeah, 150.
150. Okay.
That is
thank you.
absolutely fantastic. And it's wonderful because that means you really buy into the concept of it takes a community to raise a child. And you're doing everything possible to make it happen.
And kudos to the Kroc Center. I mean, they get so much credit for this. They've been terrific partners, and you can just go in there on any given day after school, and I really think the community's bought into what they're doing. A lot of people there every single day.
Yes, I agree. It's a beautiful place. Okay, our next question comes from Jennifer Perez, who wants to know, will all of Camden's public schools eventually become Renaissance schools? And I think this is a fear that many parents, or not a fear, a concern for some parents.
It's a question I've gotten a lot. I'm going to look into the camera on this one. No, every school will not become a Renaissance school. So this is a significant initiative that we just announced, and we believe it is long overdue in terms of revitalizing some of our most struggling neighborhood schools. But the plan is not every year to do that at 5, 6, 7 schools. We felt that this year, with the sense of urgency, we needed to take dramatic action in those schools. But we're taking a wait-and-see approach. It's a year-over-year process. We need to see if these schools are successful. We need to see if they're increasing student achievement. We need to see if families are happy with these schools. Now, there are some real signs of progress at the 3 schools today. They're very small today, and they're obviously going to be serving more students going forward, but we need to see how they're doing. But I also believe in having a diversity of school types. It's not just about Renaissance schools. It's not just about charter schools. It's not just about district schools. We have a lot of different school types. I mean, there are parochial schools here as well. We have vocational schools that over 1,000 of our students are enrolled in today. And so I think that diversity of governance structures, that diversity of school types and diversity of educators is healthy for Camden.
Now, you're also doing something with the regular schools, aren't you? Our regular traditional schools.
So with the traditional district schools, we have our strategic plan, and we're going to continue to work as closely we can with our principals and our staff to provide them the support they need, ensure that our students are feeling safe. So, I mean, that's the hard work that we're going to be taking on. We take that very, very seriously. And going forward, starting next year, the vast, vast majority of students in Camden will still be in traditional district schools.
Okay, thank you.
Carmen, if I could very quickly, I can tell you that parents are becoming more at ease. Prior to all of this partnership between the public school and the Renaissance, we're very skeptical. But again, the communication and listening to the parents, I mean, there's even waiting list, if you will, to some of these Renaissance schools. So I think this urgency that we keep talking about, the 3 of us, it's for a lot of the parents that I talk to, they feel like finally. You could just see that in the body language, that I think we're really doing what's right, for the parents and also our children.
And let me just give you an example of how that plays out, because Assembly member is exactly right. If you think about the decision at Whittier School, one of the oldest buildings in the school district, over 100 years old, the front steps are condemned and wrapped in caution tape, and just all host of issues with that building. A lot of those families feel the same urgency we do, and I believe are going to enroll their student at the KIPP school, which is just not very far away from it. And a lot of those families actually live just a few blocks away from Lanning Square, the new KIPP school. But we're going to give them a choice. It's not just about KIPP, Cooper, Norcross. There's Wiggins that's also available and has available seats. So if some of those families think that KIPP is not the right fit for their child, they still have that traditional district school that is in that same community, more or less. It's in that general neighborhood and same vicinity. So we want to provide that choice, and I think that's important. It'll still be there.
So parents get a choice. They can choose to go with the Renaissance school, or they can choose to stay with a district school. And you'll be
Correct.
working with both. The
Correct.
Renaissance to make sure the services are there that the parents wish, and our district schools to make sure that they are improving.
Correct. And probably now is a good opportunity to mention, today we kicked off a large parent engagement initiative, making phone calls to all of the students, parents, and guardians and grandparents who were at these 5 schools. I made a few phone calls today myself just to let them know that these decisions are happening, and just to make sure we can answer any questions they have. And we're also going to go door to door. So we're going to go and do individualized outreach and sit down with the families and walk them through what choices they have, and to remind them that 4 out of the 5 schools, the school building is going to remain open. It's about revitalizing that existing building. And in the one school with Whittier, a lot of those families already live closer to the new option that will be available to them in a brand new building in Lanning Square. So these are the conversations that we're planning, and I think that's really important. Communicating change is really critical, because in times of change there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of questions, and we think it needs to be individualized. So there needs to be one-on-one discussions.
And I have to say that I fielded a lot of questions at Molina earlier today, so there are definitely a lot of questions and concerns from parents, but I think it's absolutely wonderful that you're taking on the initiative of going door to door, knocking on every home and sitting down with every parent to address the individual needs of that child and that family. I think that is absolutely remarkable. Okay, okay, next question. How can we move away from processed foods coming in boxes and cooking our children's food that will help them focus?
So I'm not the expert in terms of what's happening every single day in our inside of our kitchens, but I do generally understand that we take fresh food very, very seriously.
Right.
And if we ever want to do a similar show like this with our Aramark team, and Duran Garner's a wonderful ambassador for Aramark, and is at all of our board meetings and is at so many public meetings to discuss the importance of healthy eating. But recently I was at Creative Arts Morgan Village, and I was serving food to the kids, just a fun way to connect with the kids in our school buildings. And I saw what they were doing in the kitchen, and all of it was fresh. Every last bit of what they prepared that day was fresh. But again, I'm not there every single day, and I can't comment on all the specifics, so I don't want to claim to have that level of knowledge. But what I have seen so far, we've been really pleased with Aramark, and Duran and the entire Aramark team. They've been really responsive to community concerns. That's
fantastic. And I know personally that you've been in communication with various agencies that do work with fresh foods, and you're trying to bring some of that programming into the schools.
We do.
So again, congratulations on that too.
But can I just say this real quickly? The person who asked that question, if there's a concern about that specific student's school, please let us know what that specific issue is. I promise you Aramark will follow up. They've been very responsive, and they've changed menus at schools based on what students have had to say and based on what parents have had to say.
Yes, and it's a good time to remind parents and families and viewers who are out there that you can reach out to the schools with any questions that you have, not just now, later on. The number is showing up that you can reach us directly. We will have live operators answering phones 12 hours a day. If you have any questions, any concerns about any of these transformations that are having, you will get a response. You can call, you can go to our website, you can go to our Facebook page. So you can do all of these things to get your questions answered. It's very important that you do ask questions. So moving on to our next question. Okay, we were at a community meeting and want to thank you for taking our feedback seriously. So I guess it's a comment from one of our viewers. But my daughter and I want to know what will happen to the district staff. Some of our teachers are great teachers. What will happen to them?
It's a great question. I've gotten this question a lot. So Two things. The first is that all of our teachers will retain their seniority rights.
Right.
And so we are going to honor the seniority rights, we're going to abide by the contract, we're going to work with them. The second point is that some of our teachers in our traditional district schools may be interested in applying to the new Renaissance schools that are opening, and we're going to conduct a very fair process. And to the extent they want to interview, they'll be guaranteed an interview. And so ultimately, the Renaissance School will work and decide which job offers they're going to provide. But where there are great teachers, we expect to retain them here in the district. I mean, clearly this is a difficult time, there's a lot of anxiety, but fundamentally we're going to, again, honor seniority rights, and we're going to conduct a fair process to the extent anyone is interested in staying with Renaissance schools. And I sometimes have gotten the question of, well, okay, fine, I'm a district teacher, I take that leap of faith, I get a job offer at a Renaissance school, but what if I don't like it? What if it's not the right experience for me or the right fit for me? If I go back to the district, do I lose my my status, my seniority rights? And the answer is no. You actually have 3 years at a minimum at the Renaissance School, and if it doesn't work out, come back to the district and we will honor the rights and the same experience and credentials and seniority status that you had prior to leaving.
That's wonderful. So you're also working on staffing and making sure that there is a transition process also for the staffs so that we can move forward with them also.
Yeah, so in the same way that we set up a parent response center, so we've got a phone number and extension for that, we've also set up a staff information line as well. I don't know if we can put that up on the screen. If we can't, it's okay, but great. So, so after the show we're going to put that up. So we have one number for parents, another number for staff. There are anxieties with parents, and then the anxieties with staff are a little bit different. Time of change, critical that they have the opportunity to ask questions. So I've gone out and sat down with all the staff. Our staff has sat down with school staff. I've gone to 2 schools so far in the last 2 days. But we're going to continue meeting with them face to face, and sometimes some teachers and support staff don't want to ask questions in a big room, and they prefer just to call a phone number and have that one-on-one conversation. So we're going to make sure that we dedicate the time to do that.
That's wonderful. Okay, one last question. John wants to know, when will the new school open in Kramer Hill?
So thanks for asking, John. The hope is that by the start of the following, the end of the following school year, it could be open, but it might take longer. It depends on how quickly the construction gets going. Our hope is 16-17, but it could be 17-18 school year. Construction can sometimes take a while, and you might hit some bumps in the road. Literally and figuratively. I mean, there could be kind of remediation work that needs to happen. So there's a lot of open questions right now, but our hope is within the next 1 to 2 years that school will be off the ground.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That's it for the time that we have for questions. We want to encourage the public to please continue to send your questions, to reach out. We will answer the questions as best we can as soon as possible. I would like to give everybody the opportunity, about 30 seconds, if you could just give a few closing remarks. Superintendent?
Sure. The last couple of days have certainly been momentous and consequential here in the school district in terms of the announcements that we've made. And I really deeply believe that these opportunities will help us turn the corner in some of our most struggling schools. They're tough decisions, and they are certainly decisions that impact a lot of different individuals. But at the end of the day, we truly believe that families and students will benefit. And today in Camden, 1 out of 3 residents is under the age of 18. And by 2019, our president has told us that 60% of new jobs in America are going to require some post-secondary education and training. So the future of our city is literally residing in the hands of our young people. And we've got to make sure that we provide them every opportunity possible so that they can finish high school with us, prepared to compete with their peers in other parts of the state and country, in college and in a career.
Okay. Assemblyman Fuentes?
Again, thank you for having me here. I just hope that, when it comes to changes, there's a high level of anxiety. And I hope that people who are out there will truly understand the reasons as to this type of movement or this type of vision. It's not just the superintendent's vision. This is the people's vision. These are the parents, for decades with their level of frustration. So, the last couple of years, with the leadership of the superintendent and the Mayor Red, and City Council, taking some bold, making some decisions, but really from the public. So if they really take a step back, those who are somewhat, I guess, not in favor, just take a step back to understand fully, you know, is this for us or is it for our children's lives, for our children's education?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we really truly understand that, that's really the answer, you know, for us to move forward. And hopefully, and I've talked to parents who are really slowly and surely embracing, you know, this vision. So,
Katrina, a few seconds.
Absolutely, and thank you for allowing me to participate on this panel too. But what I think the one thing that I'd like to underscore or state or leave for our audience to think about is that at the center of every decision that's made should be our children, and I think everyone has alluded to that already. And it takes time to process change, especially if you attended some of the schools that are being transformed. So it's a change, it's for the better, and it takes time to take that in. But if we continually refocus back on what's best for the children and what can be done in a very coordinated and collaborative way to maximize their academic success and their potential, I think that will kind of stabilize us all, because it is very different. And again, I'll say from my perspective, going to some of the schools that are transforming, you develop an affinity to what was in the past, and to what greatness was there, and to what, you know, what resided there, but it's not there anymore. And so it's difficult. There's a grieving process that goes on, but there's also a resurrection of some sorts, because something new is coming out of it as well. So I would say, go through the process. I went through the process. I'm being very transparent. And we're not losing a school system, but we are gaining one. And we're gaining one that's mixed delivery. So, and I know it works because it works in early childhood. That's the way we operate with mixed providers. So it will work. And so I'd say keep the students at the center, give yourselves time to process it, and let's embrace the change.
Thank you. And I would like to thank our panelists for being here, for answering all these questions, opening yourself to the public this way. I would like to encourage all families that are out there that are listening. I want to thank you for joining us, and I do want to encourage you to ask any questions that you may have. We have numbers, we will be posting our numbers for families to reach out. They can call, staff can call. We have our website, we have our Facebook pages. Please ask your questions. We want to answer your questions. Have a good night. Thank you.